Falcon fans, Falcon Nation, the belt has just been taken off. Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris is no longer a part of the Atlanta Falcon organization. Here, as stated today, breaking news, Raheem Morris was released first. Next, Terry Fontenot. Chat, let me know what you're thinking about these moves as the Falcons find a way to win 4 games in the last end of the season there to looks like what looks to seem that the Atlanta Falcons are still playing for Raheem Morris to stay and continue his tenure here in Atlanta. That is not the case, Falcon fans. The Atlanta Falcons have released Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot after 5 seasons of Terry Fontenot giving you great draft picks, head coaches not able to find a way to make those pieces and put that puzzle together as the Atlanta Falcons clean house. I expect Zach Robinson next, but this was the question during the live podcast earlier. If you clean house like this, how do you keep Jeff Ulbrich in the building? Does the new head coach, does the new GM want a Jeff Ulbrich in the building? I was okay with the Raheem Morris release as it was a rumor throughout the whole season. There was times that I said release Raheem Morris, but now you break the whole band up with the firing of GM Terry Fontenot. Zach Robinson news to come very soon. I expect it during this live podcast. And then possibly what happens with Jeff Ulbrich. Chat, let me know how you're feeling about these moves. Was it the right decision for the Atlanta Falcons to cut or fire Raheem Morris and GM for 5 years Terry Fontenot after the draft selections that he just grabbed in this draft with the James Pierce Jr. trade, with the Xavier Watts pickup, with the Billy Bowman, the Jalen Walker, the sack record-breaking defense that was drafted under Terry Fontenot is now no longer GM. We are a GM spot away, a head coach spot away. It's got to be the critical thinking for Arthur Blank when it comes to the release of Terry Fontenot. 5 years of some really solid draft picks, now no longer a part of that here in Atlanta. Chat, we're coming to you here in just a second. My guy David from Recognized Game is here to talk Falcon football. David, the news just broke, my guy, and must I say it is some mind-boggling, mind-breaking news to see the fact that Terry Fontenot is no longer the Atlanta Falcons GM. Recognized Game, Mr. David, what's going on, man? Glad to have you here to talk about this. Just your thoughts, bro. I mean, just initial thoughts when you just seen it hit the group chat there.
Then I knew it may have came. Definitely didn't think it would come this soon. I just thought we would at least get to it in the morning. But as soon as it hit live, I just said, okay, I looked. You threw the live up, so all right, let me rush on over here so we can talk about this. But
David, as Nick stated here, Zach has got to be next, correct? But the big question that looms, and I've talked about it a lot during the podcast, that if you did fire Raheem Morris after this game, if you somehow made an exotic change like the Atlanta Falcons just did, are you able to keep this DC in Atlanta after the record-breaking sack of the whole entire franchise happens today, after the possibly the best defensive draft you've had since 2016? David, how do you keep Jeff Ulbrich in the building, or is it a complete sweep out and you clean the whole entire house?
Definitely Zach gone. Ulbrich. I don't know how you keep him with the whole and with the next coach coming in. Does he want to bring his staff in and he choose his own staff? I don't know how this is gonna pan out. I'm never at a loss of words, Chase. But right now,
this is a shaker.
There's a lot to digest. Ian, but I don't see how they'll keep any of the coaching staff when they pick and choose.
The thing is, David, in the hire process that the Falcons have done the past several years here with the Arthur Smith, the Raheem Morris, the Dan Quinn situation, they all have allowed their GM to kind of help pick that head coach. The head coach kind of brings that OC, that DC to Atlanta. When we're talking about GMs, the name that comes to my mind, David, and it's a name that we've thrown around a little bit in the group chat, we've talked about on the podcast since the rumors broke, is Matty Ice fixing to be the new GM in Atlanta?
But Chase, I was sitting there thinking about that stadium today. You know, when I was thinking about Rose, and you know, I'm sitting there reading the same probably post that you've seen about Matt Ryan as a GM. You
Yep.
know, you know, ATL royalty. No doubt. Best quarterback to ever play in Atlanta, no doubt. But what makes you think that he can do the job as a general manager when we
David,
never
and
seen him
I'm
do it?
right there with you, bro. I'm right there with you
Huh?
because when I we talked about earlier in the season how we wanted a veteranized head coach in Atlanta, a guy that had been through the ringer, has done it a couple of times. Yes, Matty Ice has played the game, but how many teams has Matt Ryan GM for in his total career of football? Zero,
And we
zip,
and we
none.
got and we got somebody that you just let go that has built a roster that every host co-host of DFU is excited about the roster. They're just saying that this roster is underachieved, which is coaching. But you know, like I said, um, Terry brought the groceries. The coaches didn't mess up the recipe.
And that's
That
exactly how we started the podcast, David. I said you fired a guy that had so many different head coaches throughout his 5 years here in Atlanta that gave you the pieces, but had head coaches that just could not figure out how to put that puzzle together. Breaking news here. The Atlanta Falcons, for all those tuning in, have fired Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot. I want to give a big shout out to the whole 90 viewers over on Twitter, man. Y'all head over to YouTube at Dirty Fanatics United as we bring you breaking news and coverage of the Atlanta Falcons throughout the whole offseason. As this was news we expected to see, but not so much when it comes to the Terry Fontenot side of things. Hit that subscribe button at Dirty Fanatics United. For my viewers over on YouTube, I think we got 12 right now. 14 on YouTube. Be sure to hit that like button and comment and share us out to all your Falcon fans, as I'm sure everybody has a lot to say about these moves here. David, as we're going through these comments, as I'm reading some of these comments, could you please oblige and go on Google or Chat GPT, whatever it may be, what GMs are even available for the Atlanta Falcons to even sneak peek on to say, hey, this guy could possibly do better than what we have here in the building? Because when it comes to head coaches and OCs and DCs, we can kind of throw names around here all day. But when it comes to GMs, the higher ups, that is a totally different ball game for me, as I don't really study that. Because if you asked me last week or even today before the game, would Terry be fired? The answer was no. We had a new subscriber named Meet Washington come in the live reaction game today and said that Terry Fontenot and Robinson or Raheem Morris would be fired today after the game. I don't know what his source was, but my guy, you hit directly on what you stated here at DFU. Our guy Mark over on YouTube says total surprise, and it will be to the new head coach to see what he wants here in Atlanta. He said he doesn't believe Matty Ice will be the GM, but he will be a part of the hiring process. He will assume a similar role like Chris Spielman in Detroit. My guy,
here,
go ahead, Dave.
here go the names that really the question that you asked, but it really don't mean nothing to me because you know, like I said, it's after the head coaches and everything. That's a disconnect. Rick Spielman, he said he built a playoff roster with the Vikings. Dave Gettleman, mixed results, strong scouting background. Bob Quinn, previous Lions GM with Patriots background, and then you got some top assistant GMs and vice presidents, Ed Dodds, Omar Khan, Ian Cunningham. They don't link what team they are, and Brandon Brown. Those are the names that, you know, immediately pop up. But no.
We got a big comment here from my guy, Super. I don't want to slaughter S Controller or Cantra. My screen's kind of small. It says, no need to hire a GM as long as Rich McKay is still a part of the organization. Fontenot was a good GM. Poor coaching and being overridden by McKay made Fontenot a scapegoat for McKay. That's what the Atlanta Falcon fans are sick of, is Rich McKay. As Mark says here, McKay should be next. As David, you've heard throughout the whole season, before the season started, Rich McKay had no hands in the football sides of things. They showed Monday Night Football. He's out on the field shaking hands with the opponent coaches, talking to the guys on the sideline, sitting in between Terry Fontenot and Arthur Blank up in the booth. Guys, I'm blindsided by the Terry Fontenot. So now the thing is, where does Terry go? Where does Terry take his talents as a guy that's brought you, just running through a list of names, and this is just a list of names that I would like to speak on because these are guys that we don't grab if Terry Fontenot is not part of this organization. Brandon Delores, 8.5 sacks this season. James Pierce Jr., 10.5 sacks this season. Jalen Walker with over, I think, 8 sacks on this year. Xavier Watts with 5 sacks, leading all rookies in interceptions. Billy Bowman, a guy that's a diamond in the rough that played well until he was injured. We talk about previous drafts. Zach Robinson, not Zach Robinson. What's his name? Help me out here. He's a big D lineman.
Harrison.
Zach Harrison. You can look at even Jesse Bates trade. Jesse Bates is in Atlanta because of our guy, Terry Fontenot. Look at the offense side of the ball. Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Michael Penix, Kirk Cousins, possibly his worst move. Not a bad move because look at Penix. Penix became injured. Kirk Cousins finished a year off with 4 straight wins. David, when you watch the Atlanta Falcons in this last stretch of football, did it even hint to you at all? Because we both started turning the page saying, hey, okay, everybody's going to get another year. The Falcons are playing for this team. The Falcons are looking like a team that wants to continue playing for Raheem Morris. You hear the players' interviews after today's game speaking on how much they love Raheem Morris and how they expect to see Raheem Morris next season. Now you wipe out the GM and the head coach. David, just looking at the last inning of this season, man, was there any thought to you that Terry Fontenot would be fired with Raheem Morris this early?
Fontenot, no. I know, like I said, did report to the principal's office immediately after the game. Oh man, I just said I did definitely know what didn't make it to what they call it Black Monday.
Yeah, they didn't make it to Monday. My guy Mark says Ian Cunningham, assistant GM with the Bears. He also says he believes Terry Fontenot goes back to New Orleans and helps with that rebuild there. What a nightmare that could be. Tyler Algier was a Fontenot draft as well. Exactly. A lot of big-time players that are on this roster that you don't want to see walk away is because of Terry Fontenot. A lot of these Jesse Bates, these big-time players that you have on your squad with the Brandon Deloreses, the Zach Harrison, the Ruko Hirohu, the Arnold Ebiketie that hasn't produced so great but has been a good depth piece here for you in Atlanta is now part of the regime that Terry brought here in Atlanta. We have another co-host here on the podcast ready to talk some Falcon football. Cody, what's going on, bro? The news broke. We had to go live with it. We actually weren't going to do a show tonight. We were going to try to push it till tomorrow because I expected news to drop tomorrow, but the news dropped tonight as the Atlanta Falcons fire Raheem Morris and then very shortly after release Terry Fontenot. Cody, just in quick words here, and what's going through your mind as this breaks through your screen and you see it in live text here on your telephone?
Yeah, man.
That boy was screaming at the bins today.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm out of it, man. Dude, the Terry Fontenot thing, I'm hoping that's not a mistake because, as y'all were speaking earlier, he's responsible for a lot of the guys that were here, that are here now, the Tyler Algiers, the Jesse Bates, I don't know how, the Jalen Walkers, the James Pierce Juniors. But, as far as Raheem Morris goes, guys, that was kind of my thing to start of the season, with the players and the pieces that he had around. I said, if you didn't get into the NFC, win the NFC South, you needed to lose your job. Now, I don't like the fact that it means probably a reset. I mean, it definitely does.
So Cody, and I don't mean to cut you off, but you speak about the reset. All right, now we're sitting here patiently waiting for our phone to break news that Zach Robinson has been released. The Falcons somehow retain Jeff Ulbrich or possibly lose Jeff Ulbrich here in this sweep, because if you're looking at it from my view and my standpoint, the Falcons are in a totally new rebuild here in Atlanta with a whole new regime.
It'll be interesting now. Well, the good news is, though, is I think if you bring in a new head coach that, they normally want their own guys, but I think with the resume that Ulbrich put out this season with this defense, you would be crazy not to keep him around. Yeah. Zach Robinson could go, but the way this defense played down the stretch, got to keep him.
But are we saying rebuild the roster that we have? I know it's a
no. I don't think that ain't how I mean. Yeah.
But I know now we're not doom and gloom now. We got to get somebody to come in and put the pieces together. But I think that there will be a lot of people that are foaming at the mouth to get their hands on this roster though. But So yeah, so hopefully we get the top tier. Have they announced that Tomlin has been released yet?
They have not. Did they lose their game today? Did the Steelers lose their game today? Because
They
that would have
played
concealed their
tonight.
spot. They played tonight, so they're
I
probably
think
live.
they play the Bruins tonight.
So if the Steelers lose that, that's something to look after. You know, a guy that could lose his job, and he's been on a losing streak since the break. Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay is that possibility at stakes of losing his head coaching position. But now the question goes to you guys, is because this was a question that was brought up from a commenter during the live reaction. I thought, hey, this is a great topic to talk about, something DFU hasn't really thrown in the mix, but it's a situation that you kind of have to look at. Would you guys be irate if the Atlanta Falcons moved DC coordinator Jeff Ulbrich to your head coaching position since he did such a great job year one as DC in Atlanta?
I mean, I'm not throwing anything up against the wall, but I would like to see him stay focused on the defense. It's, because he did such a great job with it. I want to see him be all hands in on that defense and not, because how many times do we see that you have a great defense and then you bring that guy to the head coach and your defense suffers because that guy's not in that room 100% of the time. I want to see him stay as that defensive coordinator. I want to see us and I hope the Steelers stay down 10-0 because if Mike Tomlin does go, I would love to see Mike Tomlin here with
Mike Tomlin even somehow hits the line that he is fired. The Atlanta Falcons have to pick the phone up because not only would you have a great defensive coordinator in Jeff Ulbrich, if you retain Jeff Ulbrich, you have a strong defensive-minded head coach as well with a lot of players to build around. The question looms of who would that offensive coordinator be? Will Miami release Mike McDaniel? Could Mike McDaniel make another appearance in Atlanta? But when we talk about, coaches bringing their own style of people, bringing their own OC, their own DC, this is where DFU has to do a lot of diving in. What is Tomlin's coaching tree? Who does?
Yeah, but do we want an offensive minded head coach or a defensive minded head coach?
Personally, I want an offensive minded head coach.
Yeah, with the pieces that we have in place and a young quarterback in Penix, who I don't think that we've seen his best football yet. I think we'll be best served to get an offensive guy in here. Like my pick was Ben Johnson last year. That's who I wanted to come in before they picked Raheem anyway, and we see what he got. He got his hand on Caleb Williams and see what he did with him. So,
well, you know what this means, guys. Like, go ahead, David. I got a good topic for us after you're done right here.
That's what I'm saying. We got offensive guy with the pieces that we have. The offense is is set up for someone to come in with a steady hand to guide that unit. And then, like saying, then you keep your defensive guys, Coach Albright, and round out the staff. I don't think that the defense did too bad of a job this year. So I definitely think that a offensive-minded head coach needs to come in.
I agree. As we have comments rolling in, I have a good topic for us here to come after these comments. I want to run through these real quick because the chat is going off. My guy, Super Cantrana, says there's no such thing as a perfect draft or GM, but Fontenot was good GM. His drafts and free agent signings and contract extension, McGarry contract at $14 million showed his confidence. Mark says he wants an offensive-minded head coach. Nick Bungalow says, wasn't Arthur Smith an offensive-minded head coach? He was, but with a lot less talent and still found ways to win games and still equaled out the same record that a defensive-minded head coach in Raheem Morris did his 2 seasons in Atlanta. Sterling Wood says, Ian Cunningham might be our new GM, assistant GM for the Bears. That name, David, you spoke on a while ago, has been brought up a lot. Looks as if the Falcon fans are familiar with this name and like what he's done in Chicago. Mark says, but we need a leader of a man. I agree 100%.
That's Matt Ryan.
John Marino says Matt Ryan will bring in Steve Starkowski as head coach, but I would like Kubiak. Steve Carsegian, my bad. Sterling Wood says Clint Kubiak for head coach, a guy that absolutely torched the Atlanta Falcons earlier this year. It's Avitz, my guy Avitz, man. Hop on with us, bro. He said PC wouldn't boot up, but need justice for Terry. Terry Fontenot no longer a part of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is a good topic, guys, because it's been a topic that DFU has talked about, and we said we would continue talking about it until the season was over with. Let's see, breaking news, ESPN. Thought that was the release of Zach Robinson, but it isn't. The Atlanta Falcons now have a serious quarterback situation, as they may not retain the new GM, may not want to fork out that $50 million to a veteran quarterback in Kirk Cousins to retain his spot in Atlanta. Guys, is a topic we talked about a lot, but now as you look at it, it seems like the re-signing or the extension, not re-signing, the money that we owe Kirk Cousins could possibly be pocketed as the Atlanta Falcons look for a new GM and head coach. David, your thoughts on the scenario? I know we're head jobless. We have no GM, but if you were the GM for a day, are you giving the $50 million to Kirk Cousins, or are you starting fresh with somebody that you can hold up? And if the new GM, see, this is what's so crazy.
Well, here's what I'm saying.
This is what's so crazy. We're gonna have so many freaking topics to talk about, because what if the new GM doesn't route with Michael Penix? What if he doesn't want to wait on Michael Penix to get where Michael Penix has to be? What if, as bells and whistles, 95 the game, whatever it may be, says, what if you start selling trades and players for draft picks to grab certain quarterbacks, to grab certain players that this new genre wants here in Atlanta? I mean, there's going to be so much to talk about, guys. It's going to be crazy this offseason. So everybody that's tuning in on Twitter, please check us out at YouTube at Dirty Fanatics United. David, the mic is yours, brother. I see your head over there twirling. It's going through your brain. Who could the Atlanta Falcons, and what road do you see the Atlanta Falcons taking? Because if we're being realistic, you're getting the best years out of Bijan for another 4 to 5 years. Bijan should be a lock here in Atlanta. There shouldn't be no question about it. That should be an extension. Drake London, that should be an extension. But if a new GM comes in here and wants to get draft picks for a quarterback in this offseason, your thoughts, David?
Well, there's not a quarterback coming out of this draft that really excites me. So, so this season is out on quarterback. And you asked about Kurt. We talked about what were the scenarios that brought Kurt back to Atlanta, and we were like, okay, they roll with Zach Robinson for another year. He's married to Zach Robinson, in my opinion. Zach goes, there's no way that we re-sign Kirk Cousins. A new quarterback, a new OC is going to want someone to, pretty much tailored to what they do. You don't start over at $56 million Kirk Cousins. So I definitely think that he's, on his way out behind Raheem and Terry. But, that's, we're talking about, are we going to keep Zach Robinson? I think that should be a no-brainer there. If Raheem is gone, he's out the door with him. I don't see in my mind, I don't see where they would keep Zach Robinson and the head coach has been gone. Do you? I don't see a scenario that Zach Robinson stays in Atlanta. But I say Atlanta has done stranger things. But
Falcons owner statement, breaking news here. Arthur Blank says results on the field did not match or meet our expectations after head coach and GM were fired. Philip, shout out to Avitz over on YouTube. He sent the departure letter from the Atlanta Falcons as they part ways with Raheem Morris and Terry. It's a long paragraph, guys, so bear with me. I'll run through this real quick. It says, head coach Raheem Morris and general manager Terry Fontenot has been dismissed from their roles following a meeting tonight in Atlanta with Falcons owner and chairman Arthur Blank. The Falcons' 2025 season ended earlier today at their home game versus New Orleans. Morris was named head coach following the 2023 season and served as the Atlanta Falcons' interim head coach during their final 11 games in 2020. During his tenure as head coach the last 2 seasons, the Falcons finished 8-9 in 2024 and 8-9 in 2025. He completes his tenure in Atlanta with an overall record of 16-18 with no playoff appearance. With Morris as interim head coach for the final 11 games, he was 4-7. Fontenot completed his 5th season in Atlanta after joining the Falcons at 21. The Falcons record during his tenure was 37-48 with no playoff appearances. A statement here is Lee says, I have great personal affinity for both Raheem and Terry and appreciate their hard work and dedication to the Falcons, but I believe we need new leadership in these roles moving forward, said Blank. The decision to move away from people who represent the organization so well have a shared commitment to the values that are important for the organization is not an easy one on me, and not also me, but the fans. But the result on the field have not met our expectations or these of our fans and leadership. I wish Raheem and Terry the absolute best in their future pursuit. The search for the head coach and general manager roles for the Falcons will begin immediately. ZRG Partners will assist on the head coach search, and Sportsology Group will assist on the general manager role search. No timeline has been set for completion of either search, but they will occur concurrently. The Atlanta Falcons are on the board looking for head coach and GM spots here in Atlanta. So that was the released by the Atlanta Falcons. Shout out to Avitz for dropping that. Guys, I mean, just hearing that, I don't want to forget what I was fixing to say here on a comment, but, you talked about Kirk Cousins being gone. I believe the departure of Zach Robinson will follow here very shortly. I don't know why it hasn't hit yet, but not only is he gone, but now the realization of re-signing a Tyler Algier is probably out of the window. The re-signing of a Kyle Pitts may be even questionable now, heading into the offseason with a new GM. I mean, just your guys' thoughts, man. You heard the statement. You heard what was released. So, I mean, just y'all's thoughts real quick while we run through these comments.
Was that letter typed up after the firing, or did they draw that up this morning? that was that wasn't a happenstance letter. That ain't something that's just been. They were sitting on that all day.
Crazy,
I think it must have been already decided. That was already drawn up, in my opinion. But
yeah, it's crazy, man. John Moreno's here says Kurt, Tyler, and Pitts is gone. Nick Bungalow says, I like Penix, but I like QBs who are mobile. My guy, Black Thunderbolt, over on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, guys, if you're new to the channel, man. We appreciate all 131 viewers that are watching us live tonight. Shout out to all you guys. We appreciate you for being here, rocking it out with us. Get rid of Cousins and Mooney, and most definitely get rid of the OC. Avid says, sent the statement in the group chat. Yep, got that, brother. Appreciate it. Sterling Wood says, it will depend on our head coach because Clint is doing good with a veteran QB, so he might want Kurt. Trinidad Cannabis excites me. He's Ole Miss quarterback. Mark shooting shots at the Georgia fans here in the comment section.
Yeah.
My guy, Charleston Nash says, y'all think Arthur Blank's son is going to have a heavy hand in the next head coach and GM? And when will y'all think AB passes the torch? You've seen a lot more of AB's son now. Being around the cameras, being next to, after today's press conference, Raheem Morris walks over, gives Arthur Blank a hug and Arthur Blank's son a hug before he walks out of what was his last interview here in Atlanta. So, it could be coming very soon. I think he has a big hand in what's happening now, as you've seen him this previous draft be in the draft room, where in previous years, the cameraman never showed AB's son. So, definitely something that could happen very soon. Cody, your thoughts on that statement there from Charleston?
Yeah, I think he's probably getting ready because, let's face it, Arthur Blank's getting old, man. Let's say it's just like we are. Let's say it's hard to believe. But yeah, it may be that time to go ahead and this may be what Arthur Blank's doing is going ahead and turning hands over. That very well may be why Matt Ryan is on his way into a front office role. It may be why his son is more involved right now. It may be why we're, restarting the coaching positions. As far as, man, it's going to be interesting over the next couple of months to see what this Falcon team does.
Yep, it's going to be a wild ride, but it's exciting for DFU, bro. Like we're going to have so many topics to talk about, dude.
Yes.
Like the head coach search, the GM search, man. We're going to dive deep here on the channel. My guy, DB Takeover Gamer says, hear me out, and I may be far right. If Matt LaFleur is fired and can come, do you see him bringing Malik Willis after he balled those couple of games when Love was injured? If a big name like Matt LaFleur even gets tossed in the hat, guys, David?
Yeah, there's going to be some big names. McDaniels. We just saw someone say Harbaugh. John Harbaugh. We got there. There's going to be some big names. So it's going to be some, like I said, it's going to be some topics for DFU to discuss. Breaking news. Hey, I can hear who can jump on right now. So yeah, this is it's gonna be interesting. We got to sort through it. I don't want them to rush through anything. They've gotten ahead of it. I'm glad they didn't drag it out. A week or so, because then you don't get your pick of the litter. But
that's right.
like I said, there are going to be some coaches that are eager to jump on this roster that we have. So, and someone said something about Pitts. Out of all the names that are called out, they're leaving. I do think Kyle Pitts is in Atlanta next year.
I hope so, dude. The only tight end to rack over 900 yards in 4 consecutive seasons. Kyle Pitts, hasn't had the greatest hand as it's came throughout his journey in the NFL. Head coach swaps, this will be Kyle Pitts' third head coach within his rookie contract, guys. Like that's not helping these players a bit when it comes to remembering schemes, getting in the right scheme. It seemed like Zach was finding Pitts towards the end of the season with Kirk Cousins in at quarterback, but just ultimately not enough to get you in that playoff push. You win against the meaningless New York Jets, the 3-13 Jets. You're in the playoffs tonight, brothers. Yeah. Like you win today, you were that playoff spot. My guy, Super Contran says, let Kirk walk. Whose worst comes to worst, don't dismiss this idea of drafting a quarterback in 27. Unfortunately, Penix might be RG3 2.0, and his knees might hold up, possibly QB battle in 27 or 28. Mark Smith says, I don't want Malik Willis. He said, keep Malik Willis out of Atlanta. Super Cantrana says, unfortunately, QB will probably go to the Giants. I don't see the Giants being a sexier pick than the Atlanta Falcons.
I'll say no. I mean, think about that for a second. Like, out of all the, who's probably going to lose coaches? New York, us, obviously tonight. There's no team more talented, guys, than this Atlanta Falcon roster right now. Obviously, other than, you probably need another wide receiver.
The biggest, support, but when these head coaches walk into the building, you got to understand the first question that's going to be asked. Who are you bringing in as quarterback? What are you doing at the quarterback position? Like, that's got to be the biggest red flag for the Atlanta Falcons looking for this head coach candidate and GM candidate. Like, you're walking in for a new GM to walk in the situation that we're in right now. You're in a season where you have decent offseason money. You have ways to make more money. If you extend Drake London, extend Bijan Robinson, that's 2 people that you extend. You get more money off of that. You either sign Kyle Pitts or franchise tag Kyle Pitts with a big payday next season. So if you're a GM walking into a situation where you have all this young talent and your biggest question mark is possibly the biggest position on the football field is quarterback, how do you guys see that if you were a GM? Like, would Atlanta, try to put aside the fact that you're a Falcon fan. How do you view if you're walking into an Atlanta Falcon interview and the biggest question they have is the biggest position on the football field? How does that look when you walk into those interviews? Sterling Woods says, Omar Cooper, junior receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, or Branch, if they come out. If Branch slides to the second, I even said today on the Live Reaction podcast, if there's a nice left tackle in the draft, you pick that selection at 2 in the second round. Jake Matthews did not look so hot today against a washed Chase Young in the bins. My guy Rick says, had to be. Avid says, it's tough to see everything I see in these players, kind of unhappy with the decision. Well, these players were fighting for Raheem Morris. There was a rumor at one point this season that the locker room had been lost. The Falcons go out and battle and win you 4 games in a row here at the end of the season to hopefully secure that spot for Raheem Morris, and just ultimately wasn't enough. Arthur Blank, was very aggressive when he signed Raheem Morris and kind of laid it out and said, hey, look, we're a playoff team. Whoever I hire, I expect to take us to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But Arthur Blank wants it now, guys. He doesn't want it in 3 to 4 years. He wants it now. And the reality of that is, can you do that? Can it be a one-hit, not a one-hit, but a one-season turnaround? And I will say it can be done because Ben Johnson has done it tremendously in Chicago.
Yeah. Now, we've had discussions with some of the people that I argue sports with back and forth about the best way to build a team. Start with a young quarterback and put the pieces in behind that, or you accumulate the talent to skill positions and everything, and then bring the quarterback in last. I think that we went the route of accumulating the talent and trying to bring the quarterback in that was supposed to be, like I said, Kirk Cousins for 2 seasons, and Penix is supposed to be taking the helm now. The injury to Kirk Cousins kind of threw the plan out of whack. I think that I think all of us argue if Kirk Cousins didn't get hurt last year, I don't think anyone will argue that the Falcons make the playoffs this year and last year.
Yeah.
In the amount of things, and now we have, the team built in. We have a 2-year tutoring session for Michael Penix, who should be in line to take over next season. So that's how the plan should have been. It didn't work out. Now it's on to the next plan. I can see the vision. It didn't come to fruition, but I don't see Fontenot doing a bad job. The vision was there. It just didn't work out as they planned. So I wish him the best, and I hope he land in a position to continue his GM career.
Yeah, just don't go back to New Orleans, brother. That's just me being a Falcons fan. Terry done tremendous things here in Atlanta, and don't want to see him help the Saints rebuild that over there, that dumpster fire. We have a Tampa fan in the chat, Falcon fans. Hit that subscribe button, brother. Glad to have you over here. He says, if Kirk Cousins leaves or Penix, either one of them can QB in Tampa Bay. Hey, well, I don't know about who will be released, but if you want to be a DFU supporter, brother, hit that subscribe button. We're glad that you came through with the comment tonight. Appreciate the hostility to leave a comment for us Falcon fans. Yeah, and Happy New Year, I guess, for being eliminated from the playoffs. Sterling Wood says, man, how would y'all feel if Jeff came back as our head coach, just asking for a fan? We talked about that a while ago, Sterling. If it's a possibility, we'll see that. If that's the only way you keep Jeff Ulbrich, we'll see if that's what, Arthur Blank and them want to do. But I think I just see big things with this signing, or this firing. He's been friendly. He's gave player or coaches 3 years. Now Raheem Morris is like cutthroat. Find me a guy that can get us to the playoffs. Is Jeff Ulbrich that guy? Who knows?
I think he's definitely done something with the defense. But this is my kind of thing, and this is a shout out to Rick. I think Rick said it best in our group chat, man, was Terry was bringing the groceries and the coaches were fucking up the recipe. I mean, just flat out. I mean, I think Raheem Morris. Oh, was that you? That was Dave. I couldn't remember if it was you or Rick. I knew it was one of y'all, but I liked it. I was like, it's true though. I mean, I think Raheem Morris ultimately at the end of the day, not only not winning football games, but stupid decisions that he made cost him his job. Starting with the Kirk Cousins injury, going back to last year, that documentary Quarterbacks comes out and Kirk goes, hey, I told people I was hurt. And it was like, nah, you're good, Kirk. And then Younghoe Koo gets hurt and you keep marching him out there. And then you ruin him, and now he goes into next season, and he's cooked. And now instead of having a quarterback competition with Kirk because you continue to play him hurt, you had to start Michael Penix the way that you ended last year. So there is no quarterback competition going into this year like there should have been. And then we would have found out earlier, hey, Kirk was probably the right choice to go starting the season. Let Michael Penix learn a little bit more. Cool, he had that 3-game stretch. That he looked really good. He's still a rookie. I mean, basically, this was Michael Penix's rookie year. I mean, it just was.
Yeah, it was. Fans had a high. I was sitting with, I think it was Rick one night after the Falcon game. I was sitting with Rick, and we were having a couple of drinks, and we were talking about, maybe Falcon fans just had too big of an ego, too big of expectations for Michael Penix off of the 4 games he gave us in the previous year. And listening back to that and reflecting back of how this year turned out, I think Rick was absolutely right. I think Falcon fans expected Penix to come out there and just be some god and just be just this outrageously great player. But every player has their downfall. And, ultimately the knee was the situation this year as he was banged up with a deep knee bruise earlier on in the season. And then it came to find out that he partially tore his ACL. My guy, Soar_36. Guys, if you're new to the channel, all viewers right now leaving comments because I see a lot of new names in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, guys, hit that subscribe button as we're trying to grow to 1K, and we cannot do it without you guys. We're at 614 at the start of this podcast. Can we get 10 subscribers out of the 130 views, guys? 10 subscribers, and we give away something free here at the channel. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll make it happen for you on the next upcoming live. We'll do a raffle, and whoever's name is pulled will win that raffle. Hit the subscribe button, guys, and leave a hashtag DFU once you've done so to be entered for the list of the free giveaway. My guy Rick's got a Keanu Neal jersey we can give away. I got a Matt Ryan jersey we can give away. I got a lot of things here on the podcast we can let go if you guys subscribe and do your part. He says, keep Pitts, let Algier walk, keep D. Alford, get Kirk to take a contract negotiation. William Moore N2Q is in the chat. He says, Bill Moore online. It's Avid says, maybe we can keep Tyler and finally bring us someone who'll use Bijan and Tyler like Detroit uses Montgomery and Gibbs. You know, that's the big picture. Like, if that could happen, that would be great. Like, if the Atlanta Falcons could retain Tyler Algier on a team-friendly deal. You know, speaking to Bijan in the interview after the game, you know, you could see the hurt in Bijan when they asked, you know, Tyler Algier, you know, could this, you know, what if this could be our last game together as Atlanta Falcons? And just to keep it simple, Bijan said, man, that's my brother. You know, wherever Tyler goes, if he's here in Atlanta, if he goes elsewhere, me and Tyler always be brothers. Like, that's the big bro for Bijan, still scoring touchdowns, guys. But if you can keep Bijan and you can keep Tyler Algier, man, and find that head coach, that OC that can get something started like that, I think the Atlanta Falcons could have a force to be reckoned with. Sterling says Giants have a QB and a first-round pick. Do they, though? Do they have a, like, franchise-worthy quarterback in New York? He has a lot of concussions throughout his rookie season. That's the big iffy to me about I forget his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about. T-Bone 8612 says, what are your thoughts about Matt Ryan being the new GM? There's a tweet that says he might, because it says he's looking to get promoted higher up. Cody, David's already kind of gave his initial thoughts. We talked about that when the show first came on. How do you feel as if the announcement is Matty Ice is your new GM in Atlanta?
Man, I'm going to be excited. I think Matt Ryan, obviously, you know, he's Matt Ryan, dude. He's going to have an eye for talent. He's going to have a relationship with some of these players too. That's the other thing that you got to look at is he's going to have a relation with players that, you know, he may very well be able to talk people into coming here to Atlanta. I'll say whatever you do, as long as when you bring in Matt Ryan in, I don't think you could go wrong. Now, do I necessarily want to see him as a GM? No, because I don't want to see in 4 years, if things don't go right, Matt Ryan get fired from the front office, you know, for, you know, like Terry Fontenot. You know, again, I don't know what Matt Ryan's role is going to be. I don't say none of us do. I think bringing in Matt Ryan is a good thing. I don't know about a GM. Like, I think he could do it. Don't get me wrong. I think Matt Ryan could do it, but I'd rather see Matt come in as a more of a football operations kind of guy. You know, hey, the guy that's played on the field. I'd love to see him replace Rich McKay. I wish that was what he was going to do.
Yeah. My guy Hamilton over on YouTube, if you're new to the channel, guys, hit that subscribe, says, hey, what would be your favorite head coach hire, realistic and unrealistic? Think about the names that are going into the playoffs but are not currently head coach. That was one of my questions for tonight, guys. When you look at the OCs that are available that are actually heading into the playoffs, you know, a lot of these teams heading into the playoffs are kind of offensive coordinators and head coaches, you know, like Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald with Seattle is a DC pretty much in Seattle. And has done a tremendous job with what he's brought from Baltimore to Seattle. Seattle looks like the Legion of Boom again. So, you know, when you look at some of these coaches heading into the offseason, when you look at coordinators that have been in the mix for a head coach job but haven't reached that, and a name that comes to mind for me, and a lot of Falcon fans may blast me for this, but a name that comes to mind to me that has been thrown in the pot a lot the last few years is Joe Brady with the Buffalo Bills, offensive coordinator. That's a guy that could realistically be on a head coaching hunt. I'm not saying the Falcons need a signing, but when you talk about OCs in the playoffs, you know, David, is there a name that comes to mind for you when you look at head coach and OCs in the playoffs right now?
I don't want a coordinator. I've said that, you know, the hot name, the hot coordinator. You know, I kind of think at this point we got to get somebody established. You know, I know that, you know, a lot of names. There's not a name. Ask me that question again midweek when we see who all hits the coaching market after tomorrow. So, yeah, you know, I got to sort through it. There's nobody really excites me right now that's, you know, we really know, you know, is available. So, you know,
the year the Atlanta Falcons signed Raheem Morris was the sexiest year to get a head coach. Yeah, easily. And you chose one of the mediocre, mid-tier coaches in that bunch. We got a question in here down further in the chat, and we're going to get to it about Bill Belichick here in just a second. Mark Smith says, we have a much better roster. I assume he's speaking with the Giants conversation, and we do have a much better roster. Michael JB43 says, I hope the firing is not done. Me too, dog. I hope Zach Robinson breaks the screen here very soon. And, special teams coordinator, I hope he's out the building as well. Although they did play very decent today with the block punt, getting you in position with 3 field goals to win the game. We'll see.
But even with that, I was incredibly frustrated with today. There is no reason that game should have been as close as it was. Now I understand that Kirk Cousins woke up sick, and he definitely looked like he played like he was sick, and we definitely weren't getting any help from the referees. But there's no reason that game should have been that close. We were absolutely the better team. We should have been. And this is the thing that I was telling the wife, driving back home, was great into the season. You can't deny you beat the Rams Monday night. You beat your hated rival today.
2 times.
You beat some tough teams on the way out.
And really, really about beat the Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts at their hottest point.
Yeah, and you're sitting outside of the playoffs with the exact same record because you couldn't beat the Carolina Panthers once. Yep. Not home or away. You couldn't beat the Carolina Panthers once. You couldn't beat an abysmal Jets team that's 3-13.
So this is not really breaking news here, guys, but it's a rumor that's floating around Twitter that I've read. Also, Abitz throws here in the comment sections. Says big rumor from Twitter, and it ain't confirmed because I hate fake news. But Matt LaFleur is rumored to meet with us. But the question is, why hire head coach before GM again, like they did with Smith back in 2021? So, Matt LaFleur, dude, if there's any possibility he could be out of Green Bay, and you got to flirt with it. No matter if you have a GM or not, you got to flirt with the Matt LaFleur. I mean, David, am I wrong? If Matt LaFleur's name is anywhere in the mix,
do
you make that before the GM, or is it a mistake and should you go GM before that head coach?
Well, I don't really think that matters. I don't think if you're not bringing the GM from Green Bay that they're married together, it's going to be somebody new anyway. So
that's right.
I don't know how, they're not, if they don't have that relationship where they worked together in the past, right off, I don't see that making a real big difference about, how they bring them in. What was the connection between Raheem and Terry? I think Terry did an outstanding job. I will go on record from here to we stop talking Falcon football that the job that Terry Fontenot did getting us out of cap hell when he first got here to the roster that he leaves us with. I salute you, Terry. Good job.
Yeah, I think you're right, David. I think, and shout out to the new subscriber on YouTube. Leave a hashtag DFU, man. We're at 6:15. We're trying to make 6:25 here tonight before the podcast ends. Can we get it to 6:25, guys? We appreciate you. Heading back to the comment section because comment section is going crazy tonight, guys. I appreciate all the love, and I'm sure it's because of the breaking news. But Robert says, I agree with David. William Morris says, our offensive coordinator has to go. Philip said, facts. Coaches ruin this team. Justice for Terry. Raheem Hockey got bro fired. Shaking my head. Mark Smith says the Penix pick may be what got Terry fired. Yeah, Mark may have a great comment there when you did grab Kirk Cousins and then you hit the Penix early in the draft when there was a lot of big names in that draft.
The Penix pick, the Kirk Cousins situation. There's a lot that, he's the GM, true enough, but how much of that was kind of pushed upon him? One of those, either signing Kirk or going to sign Michael Penix when all the brain trust went to Washington's pro day and fell in love with him, and he was on the board. How much of that was, okay, Terry, I got to have this guy, or Terry, draft this guy? So,
yeah,
November
Scorpio, appreciate you here in the chat, brother. Hit that subscribe button. Says, y'all think Bill might come and coach the team? There's a rumor that a lot of Falcons talked about in the offseason 2 years ago when, we were Bill Belichick was in the building, had him on the yacht with AB, did go to college, but the news broke earlier this season, about 3 weeks ago, the NFL teams were still interested in talking with Bill Belichick. The Atlanta Falcons and the Jets were both on that list. Just real quick, guys, rotator on the table about that topic. Could Bill Belichick be a candidate for the head coaching spot here in Atlanta once again?
I think 2 years ago, yes. Fast forward 2 years, no, because of his stupid girlfriend and all the crap she's pulled.
Yeah, she has. Yeah, I forgot about that, Cody. There was a lot of drama that came with his fiance or wife or daughter, whatever it may be. David, your thoughts on Bill Belichick, possible coach to the team here 2 years after you interviewed him twice 2 years ago?
I passed on them 2 years ago. I pass on them today.
Shit. Super Cantrana says Fontenot went out and got some good groceries, and the head coach decided to cook was just bull everything, including the steak. God,
no seasoning,
no seasoning, no butter, no. What's that thing where they throw the butter on the steak when it's on the skillet? None of that.
Pan-seared.
Yeah. Mark Smith says he's not better than Terry. No experience. That was obviously the rumor Avis was speaking on earlier. Mark Smith says the organization does not hire retreads here in Atlanta. He also says Mark Smith says Joe Brady is interesting. It's a name that's been brought up, a name in the head coach candidate position that's looking for a head coaching job. The past 3 years, guys, Joe Brady's name's been in the mix of a possible head coach situation, and he just has stuck with the Bills. So Joe Brady is a name to look at, I guess. I'm kind of leaning towards what David's feeling when it comes to looking for a guy that's been here, that has a good, clean track record, that has playoffs every single year. Hashtag Mike Tomlin. A guy that steady produces in the NFL, not a guy that's looking to prove he can produce in the NFL. Craig Air Force, appreciate you being here, brother. Hit that subscribe button. He says, I'll take Matt LaFleur. Yes.
Could you imagine you could get Matt LaFleur and Mike Daniels back here and have that same kind of offense that you ran in 2016?
Oh, man. LaFleur head coach, McDaniels offense coordinator. Oh, that perked me up a little bit.
Yeah, you keep Britt on the defense. Woo.
So, interesting comment came from the live reaction. I'm not sure who commented, and we don't drop names here, but somebody mentioned the name of Aaron Rodgers, a possible quarterback available in the offseason. I talked about the money that Aaron Rodgers may cost to even bring to Atlanta. When we talk about quarterbacks, if you're really not going to re-sign Kirk Cousins, if you're not going to start with Penix to start the year out, I mean, what name do you guys kind of stands out to you right now that, we've kind of know who's going to hit the free agency market? There still could be some surprises when it comes to the offseason. A name that had been thrown out there that was looking for a potential new home, Joe Burrow. You got to trade for that because he is under contract. But what quarterback names are we kind of leaning towards? I mean, when you talk about free agency and quarterbacks, who kind of shines to you guys when you talk about that position? While you look that up, Super Cantrana says, can the Falcons just demote Zach Robinson to cashier for the Chick-fil-A and Mercedes-Benz and make him work on Sundays? God, and work on Sundays?
Yeah, they only Chick-fil-A open on a Sunday.
Mark Smith says New Orleans defense came to play. They did. They really dominated the O-line today.
And that's one thing that drives me nuts about this team. We're constantly talking about halftime adjustments, man. New Orleans was stacking the box, and you still kept. And don't get me wrong, you can't abandon the run. I understand because Bijan's a home run hitter. Turn around, give Bijan give the ball. I get that, but get them out of that damn defense first. Throw some slants, throw some bench routes, do something that backs them up, gets them out of your face, and then turn around and give the ball to Bijan. I was sitting up there screaming, stop. You've got to stop. They loaded in the box every play.
Yeah, I made the comment during the game that, they stacked the box and Kurt's going to have to loosen them up. How many we were the last few weeks, Bijan in the flats in the passing game was something that, was successful. I don't recall seeing that today at all. How many
because it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And that was one of the things that, again, sitting there yelling in my wife's ear is like, we haven't thrown to Bijan in the flat all day. We haven't done anything to get them to back off, and you keep running in the teeth of this defense.
Yeah, there was a couple times I saw him on the swing, and I look up, and they went, left side of the field wide open with the defensive tackle in front of Bijan. I'm like, why is that not a wheel route, or something, on the fly? But,
my God. My guy, your daddy, I believe this is the little brother Dylan says, nah, 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 nah. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Golly, he said he's been dancing since he got the text across the screen. My guy Benny over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, brother. Glad to have you here. In the comments says, I think they both were informed when or you both are out, and knew earlier this year. That's why the bold move on draft day for Michael Penix.
Okay, Chase, you asked about the free agent quarterbacks.
That's right. Hit me with it.
Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, potential free agents, Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mitchell Trubisky, Trey Lance, Case Keenum.
Joe Flacco, I'll say it's pretty bad when Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers are the best sounding names on that.
Golly, the worst fucking offseason quarterback class they've had in the past decade is when the Atlanta Falcons need a quarterback. I mean, if I'm going off of any name you just named off, David, Tyrod Taylor's the only name that stands out to me. And he's not a franchise quarterback. Because be for real. Like, and this is just an honest scenario. This isn't no Penix slander because, dude, I want to see Penix ball out to be that draft pick that we drafted him out to be. But if this new GM really is not vibing with Penix, who says he's not coming in here looking for a franchise quarterback?
Yeah.
I mean, what if your next signing of quarterback is who they expect to be a franchise quarterback?
Bar the injury, there's not no one on that list has a better arm talent than Michael Penix.
At all.
What system can you put him in to be successful? What scheme can you run? To go with his talents. Everybody pistol. He needs to be up on the center. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you guys this. This is a name that we talked about earlier on in the podcast this year, and a name that really isn't. He's kind of team hopped a lot of years. The past few years, he's been a team hopper, but he's been decent enough when he comes in the game to manage the game, put you in situations to win. Still has some ugly tape out there. Could Jameis Winston be a guy that you looked at? Over Zach Wilson, a Trey Lance, a Tyrod Taylor, a banged up Daniel Jones. I think Indy somehow may find a way to keep Daniel Jones on a decent contract. But, Daniel Jones played nice ball this year. Is Daniel Jones a guy that could come to Atlanta? Are you signing another Achilles injured quarterback?
Give me Joe Flacco. Just a bridge. If those are our options,
we're sticking with the pocket passer.
Yeah, you got to do something because those names are god awful, dude. I want to throw up thinking about that. Going, God, who would be our quarterback?
Man, Dylan, your daddy, I'm gonna have to disagree with you, dog. I was screaming for the fire. Raheem Morris. Never once did you ever hear me say fire Terry. I think Terry's done some good things in this organization. If anything, I wanted Terry to be a part of the new head coach search. And now that it's not the reality of it, the Falcons will look for a GM and a new head coach. Still don't understand why Zach Robinson hasn't been released yet. Still hasn't broke the news, but I'm sure that's shortly to come. David says, where are the brooms at? It's still a celebration night. Hey, the Falcons sweep, do New Orleans Aints at home in front of the crowd, making noise. To finish the season on 4 straight dubs. Falcons break the franchise record for sacks. It is definitely still a celebration. Robert says, of that bunch, I take Taylor as a bridge. Yeah, Tyrod Taylor is the only name that stands out to me when I hear that list.
So when they fire the head coaches, do they announce the other positions, the assistant coaches and everything? Do they announce all that stuff?
I figured they would. I would
they
figure
do,
they would.
most likely.
Or that's just kind of they're interjoined with the head coach. I don't.
Well,
I gotta think it back.
Well, if that it can't be, because then that would mean Brick would be out of the job too, and I think Brick's still got a job.
Some names that have been thrown out there: Stefanski, Bill Belichick, or Mike LaFleur. This is just Twitter names that are. It says LaFleur and Stefanski's paired with Mike McDaniel as OC. That's some of the names that people are throwing out there. Clint Kubiak. Stefanski's not a bad name. That's a decent guy. The Seahawks.
Is that the Browns quarterback? Browns head coach.
No, Steve Stefanski. Is he the Browns head coach?
Yeah.
Search that for me. Steve Stefanski. Even the Clint Kubiak doesn't sound bad because his offense has made some noise this season as well. How do you say that? Super Cantrana says Tyrod Taylor should be the next quarterback. Taylor is a decent quarterback and can give Penix plenty of time to recover. Jones can stay where he's at, LMAO, especially with the injuries. Mark Smith said so nothing when you were reading out the quarterback selections. Says, will Penix be ready by the season start? That is a negative. I do not believe he'll be healthy enough to start the season. It's Avid says Kubiak is a good one in my opinion. Dylan says yes for Clint Kubiak. So chat, drop your names. Who do you see being the next offensive coordinator or head coach here in Atlanta, guys? As we get ready to close this podcast out, we reach our 1 hour mark here. Drop in the comment section who you think the Atlanta Falcons could select next here, as the chat is going crazy. Twitter with 104 viewers, YouTube with 21. Guys, we have 21 viewers, man. Y'all hit that like button on YouTube. Share us out to more Falcon fans, and be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel, guys. I appreciate it, and it helps us out a lot. Victor Press says, watch them bring Mike Bobo. No. Kevin Stefanski is the Browns head coach.
Kevin Stefanski, yeah.
See if we can find any more names before we close out.
I'll say I'm trying to see if they've said anything about Zach Robinson.
Only thing I'm seeing for the Falcons that they've released is head coach Raheem Morris and general manager Dirty Fanatics has been dismissed from their roles in Atlanta. So it's gonna be a fun offseason, guys. It's gonna be a lot of content to come, a lot of things to talk about. Mark says, I think it goes without saying Zach is gone. I agree. Yeah. I think Zach Robinson is truly out of the building. Guys, with that being said, it is close to 10 o'clock now. We all got work in the morning. Give me a shout outs for today. And if there's anything we missed during the podcast, please bring it up now as we get ready to close out.
Big shout out to the good Lord for giving us a platform to talk to this Falcons fan. Shout out to the viewers today. I think that we got a lot of engagement. I think you had a big engagement today while you were doing the the game while the game was going. Shout out to you two for coming on and at a drop of a hat when this came through. I was like, this is something that we're going to talk about. Shout out to the Falcons for the game today. And, hopefully this is a good move that's going to, get the Falcons back to, where we all want to be, and that's in the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl in the very near future.
Yes, sir. Cody, shout outs for tonight, brother.
Yeah, no, big shout out to God, man. I would say it's not the way we wanted the season to end, but, he blessed us with the win, so we don't have to take that into next year that we last. So shout out to that. So, shout out to you guys coming on talking about sorry, I'm still losing my voice. Shout out to you guys coming on and talking about the breaking news. Falcon fans, it's going to be a fun off season. We're going to have a lot of content, lots of stuff to go. But shout out to y'all coming on and talking. Of course, shout out to, very busy comment section of very big, live viewer, ship that we had tonight. That's awesome. Guys, keep liking, subscribing. Without y'all, there is no podcast. And so we want to keep doing this thing. So as long as y'all keep coming back, we're going to keep pushing out content. So shout out to y'all. Other than that, guys, rise up and let's go Dirty Birds 2026.
Yes, sir. Rise up, Cody, Mr. David. Appreciate you guys for hopping on with me on short notice as the Atlanta Falcons broke news. Falcon fans that are tuning in, you can expect DFU to be here live after every breaking news. If one of us is available, we will hop on this thing and bring you the coverage of the breaking news the Atlanta Falcons release as we go throughout this head coach and GM search. Not to mention the name of Matty Ice, looking to see what happens to that. Hopefully this week we'll know something. Surely the Atlanta Falcons release Zach Robinson in the next few days. We'll have a short or a reel for you. We're not going to do a whole podcast for Zach Robinson because he done enough damage on this organization. So be sure to stay tuned. Ring the bell. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, man. If you're new to the channel, guys, I cannot stress enough to you Falcon fans that are viewing right now. If you do not subscribe or like the channel, it helps us out zero bit. Like if you guys hit that like button and just subscribe in 2 seconds, it really, really, really pushes us out to more people and gets us out into a broader algorithm for all Falcon fans. So please subscribe. Please hit that like button. We appreciate the comments. To all the Twitter viewers, man, I'm going to somehow get you over to YouTube. One day, all 104 of you will be over on YouTube. So you guys, appreciate y'all. Keep supporting us on the Twitter side of the world. Keep supporting us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. All you guys doing your thing, man. As Cody stated, we cannot do this podcast without you guys. There's my guy, Meat Washington, said, I saw it at the press conference. This Raheem's last game. Meat, you called it at the beginning of the game. You said Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris would both be released of their duties, and I'll be damned if it didn't happen. You have a great source, my friend. Stay with him. Falcon fans, hit that like button. Leave a subscribe as DFU gets ready to close this show out. I'm your host, Steve Money, followed by my co-host, David, Cody. Shout out to Rick, Phillip, Robert, and David and Cody as well. As always, man, rise up and A-Town down from DFU. We appreciate you guys. Much love. We outie.